Good morning. This is Raymond Charles Barker. A phrase has been running through my mind this morning, and it is an old one, a lovely one. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and they that dwell therein. Beginning of one of the Psalms. That the whole creation of the cosmic order was created so that man could evolve. Now, we don't own the cosmos. It owns us. We'd like to think we do, but we don't. We are in a universal intelligence that is all action, all life, all intelligence, and it's ours to use. We are a part of it. We are not separated from it. We are it. That's why it says that the earth is the Lord's, and they that dwell therein. We are a part of the cosmic process. And I say this to myself often because I want to put myself in a bigger framework than just the office, the platform, the home, the errands to do. I'm a part of a cosmic immensity. So immense that we cannot measure it, we cannot even explore most of it. But we know it's there. And we know that it has a rule of order. It has a rule of law. We never worry as to whether the sun will come up the next day or not. We never worry as to whether the moon will come out or not. Law and order. And this is in action now, always has been, and always will be. And here we are, participants in it, in the cosmic creation. All right, let's relax and take this into our subconscious mind. But we are a part of one eternal creative process. One mind, one spirit, one love, one beauty, one wholeness and completeness. We are of it. It fashioned us out of itself. We are spiritual beings in a spiritual experience, right here and right now. Not in the future, nor in the past. At this present split second, we are the action of life. Fresh, clean, inspiring, free. All right? So it is. I have a topic this morning that is one that I probably will ramble around with. It is love and be loved. Love and to be loved. Now, this all started thousands of years ago when the earliest religions, long before the Judeo-Christian field, said that God was the source of love. Way, way back as far as you can go. So it's always been in the field of religion. But so much of the love that has been talked about in the field of religion is soupy, sentimental, unreal, impractical. And so you have had people tell you that you should love everybody when this is a utter impossibility. But we have been putting that into people's minds. So what does it do? It makes us guiltier than ever. So, I'm going to start off by saying you don't have to love everybody, so don't feel guilty about it. There's a lot of people that don't like me, They go over to Philharmonic Hall or somewhere else. Yeah, they have a right to that. Luckily, I don't know who they are, so I have to like them. We have stressed in this instruction that we exist in and are a part of something that is forever giving itself away. that we are a means by which life gives itself away. And that is why one of the common denominators of love, no matter how it's used, is a givingness. Now, we had very little wisdom teaching about love until the advent of psychotherapy, starting with Freud and coming down. These men, and later the women, realized that the problem of the individual was always emotional. Not mental in the sense that we use the word mind. That it always was an emotional problem. And so they set up their theories. Later we set up ours, which are quite different. And we realized that the key word in love is givingness, and the key word against love is frustration. Now, it all comes down to how do I handle my personal relationships? Do I handle them with intelligence? And do I handle them with balanced emotion? Good question. And I'm sure that I can't answer it completely for myself, nor can you for yourself. All I know is I try. I try. Now, there are instances where I get overly enthusiastic and give of myself to friends, loved ones, and all, without being too intelligent about it. Now, we've seen what that does. We have seen spoiled children grow up. And may I say, a spoiled child, grown tall, is still spoiled at the age of 40. Only he now finds somebody else to spoil him. He's left mama and papa, probably married a mama to take the place, and so he goes. Now, does that mean that all the problems of the world would be solved if all children were raised correctly? I don't know. It's never going to happen, so we don't even need to speculate on it. Your capacity to give of your real self to other people. Just a few. You can't do it to everyone. Capacity to give of your real inner self in a healthy, happy exchange with key people in your life. Now, to me, that's love. You see, we are, in modern times, the word love is too often associated only with the sex function. That is a part of it, but it's not the whole thing. It is a giving and receiving of yourself. Because whenever you love someone, you are loving a phase of your own being. Just as whenever you hate anyone, you are hating a phase of your own being. When you love, you are loving something with yourself, of yourself, which is outpictured in another individual. And it's great. And it's good. Now, is it constant? Not always. No. No. I think it takes work to keep love going. I think it takes wisdom. It takes understanding. It takes cooperation. All of these. Now, you see, the one factor that isn't love is the factor of domination. Now, the people that try to dominate you are not expressing love, even though they say they are doing it in the sense of love. If you really love, you leave the other person or persons free to be individuals. The most precious ingredient you have is to be yourself. And people come along, or you raise up in a family group, where somebody doesn't know it, but they are trying to change your individuality. And this you must watch. You know, there's been some terrible emotional crimes committed in the name of love. If you love me, then you'll do what I want you to do. That's an attitude. If you love me, and then later you say, oh, I guess you don't love me anymore because you don't do this, you don't do that. Has nothing to do with the truth. There's never a demand in love. Look, when you were first born, you weighed your 6 to 9 pounds, you were cradled in your mother's arms for a very important reason, far more than just her wanting it and needing it. You were put there because from the beginning of time, the early midwives and the later medical men knew that the first reaction that child needs is affection. Warmth, security, a sense of order, a sense that all is well. That's what every child wants when it's born. And it is given it in these early stages of development. And then quite often, for one reason or another, this love is somewhat withdrawn and the child is hurt. The child doesn't know it in child language, but the child is a feeling child, and it knows it. Now, many people, when they are adults, are still wanting the love that they may not have gotten as a child. The necessary thing. Why? Because you are emotion. I am emotion. And we have to have a give and take with people. We were all born to be persons, people. I say that often because the tendency in a hurt is to withdraw. To reject, to withdraw, and go into the depths of your own mind, certain that you are right and everyone else is wrong. I had a teacher years ago, said to me once when I was 18, and she said, you know, I love you enough that even if you make mistakes, I shall continue to love you. And I thought, that's love. I love you enough that even though you make mistakes, I will still love you. Now, quite often this is the mother's attitude. Because, as you know, they say, I can't prove it, that mothers always love the spoiled brat the most, the troublemaker. Always. Now, this may or may not be so. Certainly she loves it. But, come back. The giving of yourself without judgment on your fellow man. Now, that word judgment, along with the word condemnation, has no place in the divine giving. There is no condemnation to those who are in spiritual attitude. And there is no false judgment. One of the interesting things about the teaching of Jesus, as it is recorded, is that statement, I judge no man. A very difficult thing to do. I'm talking about personal relationship. I'm not talking about world judgment. I'm talking about personal relations, the people you deal with in your immediate circle. I judge no man. Once in a while I think of that. Because it's very easy to sit in judgment on a loved one or a close associate and not realize you're doing it and have no knowledge of it whatsoever. But you are doing it. And as a result, all you're doing is confusing yourself. It would say, yes, well, what if one of my loved ones does something that is really wrong? Well, what are you going to do about it? You can make a mountain out of it, or you can make it nothing. You see, in love, as we can't define it from the undefinable word, because it is a feeling and not a fact. It's like the people that run around shouting that they love everybody and everybody's so beautiful and everybody's so wonderful, and they get this sweet smile, which you know instantly is false. And you know that that isn't at all true. That probably, if you had a 2-hour conversation with them, you'd find out what they really think about a lot of people. Maybe even about yourself. Now, a word that cannot be defined because it is a feeling and not a fact. It is an emotional communication, just as is hate. Just as exact as is hate. It is an emotional communication. Quite often, in working with people and with myself, I say, all right, emotion, all doors are open. All channels of communication in my consciousness are now open, and I give and receive love with joy. Now, that's a pretty great statement. That all channels of communication, thee and me, are open for the interchange of loving, warm, understanding relationships. Now, of course, as you know, there are people who love greatly and cannot say so. And that's too bad. That's their psychological block. I've had both men and women say to me that they had lived the last 25 years in a very happy marriage, but one of the other partners who would never say, I love you. So I always say, well, did he or she say it when you were engaged? Oh, yes, yes, yes. You know, the balmy days. But once that certificate is over the bed, you know, you go out in the Midwest, you still see them over the bed. They're framed and put over the bed, and on one side is God Bless Our Home. Here again, a lack of communication, even though it is not a destructive thing. It is wise to tell people you know well that you love them. And not consistently, but often. And even when they apparently are annoying, you gotta love them. You gotta love them. All right? The undefinable, yet known thing. There are these words that are beyond definition. That's why they've always been associated with the deity. Because a deity, in the right sense of things, can never be defined. This is what has been happening down through the years. We've always tried to define it. Now, the minute you have a deity that is defined, you no longer have a deity. Because you have put restriction and limitation on the fact. That's why you cannot adequately define another living soul. In part, but never in full. Because if you do delineate the individual too much, then he or she is no longer an individual. except he knows or she knows, and all is well. See, we are great to put all people into classification. We lump everybody together and throw out these great generalizations. And they just aren't so. And any thinking mind knows they aren't so. And so the philosophers, the mystics, saviors and saints down through history have said this can't be. You cannot just generalize everything and every group and every nation or whatever it may be. You can't do it. Now, it is very interesting to me that in the Soviet Union, great music, great ballet, and great opera have been at their highest peak in their entire history during the present regime. Very interesting. Far better than the days way back. Far greater. In other words, our general classifications have not stopped the artistic nature of the situation. Art is beyond that classification or definition which can limit it. Now, so too with yourself. You cannot define yourself completely. And don't try. I know one thing. I know that subconsciously I am one with the whole universe, and you are too. But then I know that my conscious mind, with its capacity of selection, will, defines to me my experience, but I am still an unlimited experience, no matter what my definition may be of it. We are all an eternal potential. We are all an eternal becoming. And no man, no woman, no child is ever finished. We are always in the process of taking new information into the mind if it's nothing more than tasting a hamburger and saying it's good. Which you probably have said over 100 hamburgers in the last 5 years. God bless the man that invented them. A boon to mankind. Now, you and I, and everyone we love, are undefined potentials of good. That's what love does. Love sees the good. And does not sit in judgment on that which is not good. Love sees the good. Feels the good. More than seeing, it's a feeling. It's an emotional perception of feeling the good. And it's in you, and it's in me, it's in everyone. Now, many people are all locked up. Many people are very lonely, and many people are very unhappy, and many people have isolated themselves from the human race and merely function as a vegetable. Oh, yes, they work out a job. Sure. They have no social life, and they're miserable. Now, what about these people? Can they be helped? Yes. But you've got to change their own concept of themselves. And you can't do that unless they want it. You cannot change another living soul unless the person wants to change. So, you can say, all right, let's see if I can't open up some avenue of communication, some avenue of feeling with this person or that person. You may or may not, because maybe they don't want it. And they have so rejected life on this earth, and they have all of their reasons for it, and they are happy in a negative way. Give of your emotions to people. Look, you can do it fast enough in anger. Yep. All I need to do is say something, it'll touch you and whack, you go right into it. Anger is emotion, and love is emotion, and you are emotion, and I am emotion, and the whole universe is emotion. And the whole thing is so because whatever the creative process is, it is emotion as well as thought. We know that it is an infinite thinker because of the cosmic order, cosmic laws, because it works that way in the individual also, when we let it work. When we want to have order, we have it. When we want to use intelligence, we use it. And when we don't want to, we reject it. Go home and look in your closet and see whether you have order or not. I don't think there's any great super virtue to perfect order. I think it's just an easier way to function. That's all. I have a student that one time, like so many, she moved to Florida. And I still get the yearly letter in which she says, oh, the one thing I've been trying to do for the last 15 years is to put my closet in order, and I just can't do it. So I write her back and say, well, why don't you forget about it? That disorder is for you order, because you know what to dig under to get what you want. Yeah. And so I'm sure that she goes through her average day, but you see, she's trying to follow someone else's idea of order. Someone else's idea of order. Communication. Feeling. Giving in the sense of wisdom. Can't buy love. We've all tried it. We can help love them. We can't buy them. So, but we sometimes slip a little and try to do it all over again, you know. Communication, emotion, a give and take, a feeling that all is good in this relationship. All is good in this relationship. That to me would be love. Because here's a person or persons with whom I not only can communicate, I can to some extent understand. So if he or she should do something annoying, so what? So what? Minimize it, never mention it, and keep up the flow of communication. In family lives as well as in close friendships, quite often, communication lessens. When it lessens, there's trouble. When you can no longer communicate with someone close to you, love has gone out the window. Now, you may still put on the front, but that's all it is. It's a facade. You love by giving of yourself, not necessarily your money. You love by giving of yourself. This is as old as time. Every teacher said this, one way or another. But the people who listened eagerly and, in the case of philosophy, read the great classics eagerly, nodded their heads, said, oh, that's wonderful. That's very wise. And then proceeded to go right around hating anybody they wanted to hate, overpowering people they loved with gifts and all the rest. And, because it's in the book. It's in the book. In my book, Treat Yourself to Life, there's a whole chapter on how to love. Go home and read it. You've all got it. And you'll see that the whole thing is givingness of consciousness, which may or may not be accompanied by external giving. Remember what my teacher said years ago, that she loved me enough that even though I made mistakes, she would still love me. And by the way, I was, I think, 16 or 18 at the time. And that has stayed in my mind all these years. She's a long time gone. It stayed there, that if anybody loves me, they will love me with my mistakes and minimize them. So if anybody loves you, they're going to love you with your mistakes, because none of us are perfect. You're not, and I'm not. And we've got to be loved with our errors of omission and comment. Right? The other great book says, God is love, and they that love are worthy of God. Very beautiful. But I think that's true of your personal relationship. I think when you are loving, you are letting the action of God take place by means of you. Where you are communicating, you are letting the action of life, the action of the good, happen by means of you. Because we are all love. Now, you are all the action of God. This we forget because we haven't been trained to think so. But you see, the individual individualizes all of life, all of goodness, and all of love. That's why we use the word individual. So here it all is, and I have it, you have it. And when we can't communicate, it is frustrating. Absolutely frustrating. When we can't communicate. You know it, I know it. We've all had it in our lives. Now, I think one of the values of the maturing process is we have it less. Because we do not expect any person to be completely perfect. At all. And that's wisdom. And that's wonderful. And that's love. All right, so end this morning lesson. Now let's come back to the thing. You can't love everybody, but you can love some. And there's a lot of people around. Remember, the world's population gets a little bit bigger all the time. There's plenty of people to love when you decide to love. Now, most of you are already in the process and have been all your life. You love members of your family, you love close friends, you love lots of people. That's helpful. Because frustration is the unhealthy. But loving is one of the guarantees of health. When you are really happy with people, that's love. When you are really able to communicate and feel, that's love. And you see, unfortunately, many people don't express this enough. And then when death or some other thing occurs, they have great guilt. Great guilt. Why didn't I say I loved you or her? Well, that's your chance. Shall we stand for our closing words? All right, we are all begotten of the one emotion, the very love of God, the very love of life. Out of this we came, functioning in it we are, and at the right time we will go into a further extension of it. But that love, that wisdom, that understanding, and that communication which is ours is the wonder of us all. It's our greatest possession, and it is free. We are this love. So be it. Thank you for coming.